a waqia by Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, when they were 4 years, 4 months and 4 days old. There is a rasm, there's a ritual which we do, it's called Rasm Bismillah. I.e. when a child reaches this age, a teacher or a scholar or a pious person or wali is called, and he will make that in that child recite Bismillah and the Qaida, Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, to Ya, etc. He will be his teacher. So when Ala Hazrat Rasm Bismillah was done, and then the scholar was called for this, and the Rasm Bismillah was done, then Ala Hazrat at that time, this was the intellect of Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, and a mujaddid needs to have this intellect as well, at such an age also. And the scholar, he said, read Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So the Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, they read Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And remember, in Qaida we have, for example, the Madani Qaida. If you look at Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, the first line, this is all together. Then when you look at after Jim, etc. and all that, these words are separate. They're not joined together. This is the structure of that. And when you look at after that, these are mufridah letters. These. And among the mufridah, there are musta'aliyah, which you have to pronounce differently. Then when you look at the next page, there's something called murakkab or murakkabat, when 2 letters combine and to make a word. So students, they need to remember the first lesson in order to complete the second lesson. And generally what happens is that students, when they move on to second lesson, they sometimes tend to forget the first one and struggle joining. But Ala Hazrat was not this case. So the Rasm Bismillah started, and then during the Murakkabah lesson, then came 2 words, was Lam and Alif. Lam, Alif. And so the teacher said to Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, read Lam, Alif. But Ala Hazrat remained silent. Ala Hazrat did not speak. Then Ustaz Sahib repeated again and said, read Lam, Alif. Again Ala Hazrat did not repeat. Then the grandfather of Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala said, son, listen to your Ustaz Sahib and repeat. Then Ala Hazrat turned towards their blessed grandfather and asked a question, that I've read all of these huruf before. Alif came, I read. Ba came, I read. Etc. Meme came, I read. Then why am I being told to repeat this again? Then Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi Dada Jan became very impressed and happy that his child is thinking this manner. So the words were separate, and I'll tell you why the intellect of Ala Hazrat. The words were separate, and the words were now, the words were separate, now they just joined again. Then Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, he read after the grandfather explained, and it is mentioned that when you look at the word Lam and Alif, this Ala Hazrat noted this point. And he mentioned this, he said, when you look at the word Lam and Alif, when you spell Lam out, it has 3 letters. When you spell Alif out, it has 3 letters. In between Lam comes Alif. And in between Alif, the middle letter is Lam. This is why these 2 are joined together and presented in the Madani Qaida, or any Qaida which is present. And Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala Ali picked up on this point, to which we think is minor, and remember, and is mentioned, or scholars mentioned at this point, that this incident is sometimes a person writes something, writes a sentence, writes a ruling, but he did later on, whatever he thought, for example, he thought it meant this, for example, he thought it meant something, but later down the line, scholars interpreted it in a different way, which he didn't know it could be interpreted in that way. Whereas Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala Ali was interpreted in this way, that the reason for Lam and Alif, why is it not Ba and Meme, or Ba and Alif, or Meme and Alif, why is it not that? The reason for Lam and Alif being joined together is because Lam has 3 letters, Meme has 3 letters. In the middle of Lam comes Alif, and middle of Alif comes Lam, and Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala Ali picked on this point as well.
We love Madani Channel, we love Madani Channel.